I'm Mark Moriarty, and I want to change the way you think about cooking. You don't need endless ingredients or hours in the kitchen to make something incredible. What you do need is a bit of know-how, creativity, and the right techniques. The best thing about this recipe is it's so simple to put together. In each episode, I'll take just a few core ingredients, and with the help of a fully stocked pantry, create 3 beautiful dishes. We'll bring professional kitchen tips into your home, helping you cook smarter, waste less, and make the most of every ingredient. So let's dive in and cook like a chef. Okay, here's the secret to cooking like a chef. Each week, I buy a set amount of core ingredients that can be used across multiple dishes, while I keep an eye on cost, keeping things fresh without getting repetitive. This week, I've picked up minced beef, puff pastry, mushrooms, red peppers, cheddar cheese, and olives. A solid mix of flavours and textures that can be stretched across completely different meals. And alongside these, I have my chef's secret weapon, a well-stocked pantry, having a few essential ingredients to hand to build flavour, making cooking easy. First are the store-cupboard staples, dried herbs and spices, flours, grains, and tinned or jarred goods that bring depth to any dish. Then the flavour enhancers, things like vinegars, oils and condiments that add acidity, richness and balance. And on top of that, I always have everyday basics. Milk, butter and yogurt because they work across sweet and savoury dishes. And finally, long-lasting vegetables like potatoes, onions and garlic. If stored properly, they'll last for weeks and can be used on a whole host of meals. Remember, you look after your pantry and your pantry will always look after you. This week on Cook Like a Chef, we're making Mongolian stir-fried beef mince with fried egg and steamed rice, Argentinian empanadas with chimichurri, and Tart pissaladière. 3 big flavours using the same core ingredients in completely different ways. Traditionally, this recipe would use steak. Because it's midweek, I'm going to use beef mince. It's easier and quicker to cook, and it goes a lot further. The first thing we need to do, and a key to this recipe, is we need to get it really, really brown. Now, we want this oil to be smoking hot before the mince goes in. We want it to be as brown as possible. This may take about 10 to 15 minutes. Just going to push it down. And once we've done that, just leave it alone, let it do its thing. While that's browning away, I'm going to get some rice on using this steamer. Now, all you need is a Pyrex bowl, some boiling water from the kettle, and some basmati rice. We're going to fill this bowl about halfway, and we're looking for about 60 grams per portion. Like everyone, I cook way too much rice all the time. All we want to do is just cover the top of the rice. And after that, it's as simple as getting it in our steamer, turning it on to full blast, lid on, and in about 20 minutes, we'll have perfectly cooked, fluffy rice. Now, have a look back at our mince. That's only taken a couple of minutes. And if I get my spoon in there and flip it over, that's exactly the colour that we're after. Now, I haven't touched that at all. A little bit of patience will build some more flavour here. Once it starts to pop like this, it's time to set it aside. Just going to turn the heat down, give myself a little bit of time just to prep the veg that's going to go in here. So what I need is some garlic, a red bell pepper, which is on our list of ingredients, 2 onions, which are my pantry staple, and then some dried chili flakes. This is one I always have to hand. To start off, we're going to use 5 cloves of garlic, but we are going to pack this pan with flavour. The one thing we do need to focus on is making sure that all this veg is cut down nice and small, because it needs to cook quickly. That's all my veg prepped. Time to bring this together. So back to our pan. We want to basically create a flavoured oil with all that garlic and some dried chili flakes. So once there's a nice bit of vegetable oil in there, I'm going to start by going in with all our garlic. We want to cook this out nice and slowly, controlling our heat, till it goes golden brown. I'm aware this looks like a lot of garlic, but these are high impact flavours. There's going to be a lot going on in each spoonful of this dish. I'm going to go in there with my chili flakes. I'm adding a heaped teaspoon here. Of course, you can add a little bit less or a little bit more depending on how you like it. The reason I didn't go in with it at the start is if I add it along with the garlic, by the time the garlic's brown, the chili burns. Again, same as before, just toast that chili off in the oil. Now I'm happy with that. I'm just going to get all that in on top of our mince. Then return the pan to the heat and in with our veg. I don't want to soften it down too much. I like the idea of having it a little bit crunchy, a little bit of texture through each bite. That gives us just enough time to work on the sauce. We're looking for maximum flavour with minimum time here. What I need is 70 mils of light soy sauce. After that, a sweet and sour element. 2 tablespoons or 2 parts vinegar. Traditionally, you would use a Chinese wine vinegar or a rice wine vinegar, but I just don't have it. What I do have is a little bit of white wine vinegar, and that will do midweek. 1, 2. Doesn't have to be exact. And for the sweetness, a good tablespoon of honey. Remember, if you want big flavours, you need big quantities. Then what we add in is a very heaped tablespoon of corn flour. So that's going to react with the heat in the pan. It will thicken, go lovely and glossy, and will basically give us an instant sauce. Get our mince and our caramelised garlic and chili back into that pan. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn up the heat as high as it will go. We're going to go in with our sauce base and have a look. So really quickly, just give it a quick mix as it comes to the boil, and that corn flour immediately activates. You can see it's starting to stick together, and even if I stick a little teaspoon in there, it's coating the back of the teaspoon. That's exactly what we're after. Have a quick look at the rice, and 20 minutes, it's perfect every time. Now, one thing I like to do midweek, just to bulk the dish up a little bit more, add a touch of protein. Who doesn't love a little crispy fried egg on top? Lovely. This dish is what this series is all about. Using the ingredients that I have for high speed, high flavour, cost-effective cooking. And that bowl is going to be absolutely delicious. Next up, we're making Argentinian empanadas. Perfect as a midweek meal, for meal prep, or even a bite on the go. The magic of this recipe is we're using our core ingredients and the full force of our pantry staples. These will make it extra special. First things first, we need to make our filling. So for that, we're using our beef mince. And as always, I may repeat myself a lot, but with beef mince, into a hot pan, we want to get it as golden brown as possible. Just a little bit of plain vegetable oil in the pan. Smoking hot. Mince in. As with the Mongolian beef, break it up and then leave it. Let it go golden brown. While that's happening, prep the veg. First up, I have some button mushroom and I'm just dicing them nice and fine. Then some garlic, an onion, and a red pepper. The important point here is we chop everything nice and finely so it cooks quickly. Now, some green olives from the pantry. Very handy store-cupboard ingredient is pack a punch. Once that meat's brown, we're not going to start fussing. I'm going to get all the veg into the pan all in one go. Once that's in there, give it a little bit of a stir and just let it start to sweat down into the beef and all that beef fat. A little bit of chili flakes. So a little bit of smoked paprika. I'm going in with about a tablespoon of that. And that's quite meaty. It adds that lovely sort of smoky background to the dish. And then tomato paste. Another staple store-cupboard ingredient I'll always have. It adds great colour, depth of flavour, and that base sweetness that we love in a lot of sort of fillings and sauces. Once that goes in, get our wooden spoon back in there, mix it all through. And we want to cook this now over a high heat until it's almost sticking to the base of the pan. That's exactly what I'm looking for. All that veg is sweated down and it's almost sticking to the base of the pan. That's my cue to go in with some of the liquids. These are heavy in seasoning. We've got some Worcester sauce, a good teaspoon of Dijon mustard, fiery, and going in with some rich beef stock. Give it about 10 minutes, leave it over a high heat, let that beef stock reduce down. And what we're looking to create is a pretty much sticky, rich, dense compote. This will be our filling for our empanadas and it will be packed with flavour. 5 or 6 minutes later, you can almost hear it. That sauce has completely reduced down. It's almost sticking to the base of the pan. Have a quick taste. Oh yeah, ooh. Really good. Take a little touch of sea salt in there at this point. And that is the base of our filling. Now we'll also be adding cheese, but I don't want to add it now. Otherwise it's all just going to melt down and emulsify. So we're going to chill this mix, get it into the fridge, and finish it later. Our beef mix is cooled. It's taken about an hour in the fridge. And I also have a little bit of cheddar cheese here. And nothing fancy here with equipment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grate it in using a box grater. We want it in nice big thick chunks. So as it bakes off in the empanada, we have lovely sort of melted cheese with the beef and all that seasoning. Once that's in there, get a spoon in there and just fold it through. And it holds its shape together because the mix is now cold. So all we need to do is roll out our puff pastry, nice and thin, and cut it into discs. That's looking good there. Just about 2 millimeters thick.
Use a bowl to cut out perfect circles. Then, throw the pastry in the fridge so it's easier to work with.
Now, we have our nice chilled pastry and our chilled mix. What we want to do is put a good amount with a bit of height right in the middle of each. And you can see when that mix goes in there, that cheese is still holding up nicely. That will melt down as it bakes off. So for my egg wash, I'm using the yolks only. The reason for that is it's going to give me a much better colour when we paint the empanadas before they go in the oven. Now with the egg yolk, just using a pastry brush, I just want to use just a tiny amount of egg yolk, otherwise it'll get too soggy. This is the arts and crafts part. So what we want to do is fold them over, sealing in that filling and creating half moon shapes, making sure there's no air gaps. Now they look a little bit rough, but we're going to fix that later. Get them all sealed.
I'm pressing them down with the back of a fork just to ensure that they're fully sealed.
Now once we know that they're sealed, we're going to give them the classic empanada design. What you're looking to do is you're basically pulling the pastry apart, folding it in behind and then pressing it or pinching it together so you get that sort of wave pattern on top.
Brush them all over with egg wash and get them into the oven at 200 degrees for 25 minutes.
Now with those really rich empanadas, I'm going to keep the South American theme going by making chimichurri. Now chimichurri is essentially a green salsa. Traditionally in South America, it would always have oregano, garlic and green chili. But I don't have that. What I do have is some leftover green herbs from the other day. So I'm using dill, parsley, a little bit of coriander, 1 large clove of garlic. So we're just going to peel it, slice it in 2, get it straight in there. Then to let it out, I'm using a good quality olive oil here. And we just want enough that it's going to turn into a paste. We don't want it so wet that it becomes a dressing or a pesto. The zest and juice of 1 lemon. The juice is quite acidic, cuts through the richness of the empanada, but the zest gives that lovely sort of citrus floral note. After that, just squeeze in our juice. A couple of dried chili flakes. We already have it in the empanada mix, so I'm just gonna add about a half teaspoon here. I don't want it too fiery. Season it up. Plenty of sea salt and black pepper. And then it's as simple as blending into a paste. That's exactly what we're after. So to get it ready for empanadas, I'm just going to keep it in a little bowl here. The chimichurri in. All this needs is the empanadas. Oh. Very happy with these. And they smell delicious. Got that lovely golden brown, crispy pasty from the egg wash. All that's left to do is plate up and crack in. That is going to be delicious. You can eat it now. It's a great handy dinner to have in the fridge, working from home lunch. South America's finest. Lather it in that chimichurri. Oh yeah. Right, this might sound fancy, but I promise you it will be worth it. I'm making Tart pissaladière, a southern French delicacy using very simple ingredients. And as you can see, it starts with a lot of onions. Now, the base of this tart is with Lyonnaise onions. So that's basically a fancy name for really slowly caramelised onions. The reason we use so many of them is that we're going to cook them out for about an hour over really low heat. And all those sugars are going to caramelise down, and they're going to act as almost a sweet sort of jammy sauce on the base of this tart. It's absolutely delicious, and it's the kind of thing that if you're doing this job, I do a big batch, use a good amount on the tart, and then I can store the rest for different sauces, even a nice bit of steak later in the week. Now, the key point in making these onions is they need to be sliced really thinly. I've invested in a mandolin. For me, it's one of the best pieces of equipment in the home kitchen. You can use a sharp knife and do it by hand, but this is the only real way to guarantee that they'll be consistently thin across the board. All I do is get them straight into the pot. Just be careful with those hands on the mandolin, pushing it very, very carefully.
Next, I'm adding 3 cloves of garlic using the mandolin again. Please be careful with this.
This is a very important point. Just going to give it a little touch of vegetable oil, just to get the caramelisation started on the base of the pan. And then we're going to add a good handful of salt. Now, this is a key point. I'm using sea salt here. And we need this to quickly draw out the moisture in the onion and the garlic so that it'll evaporate and allow the sugars to caramelise. Onto a low heat. And we're going to stir it every 5 or 6 minutes until it's all wilted down, caramelised, condensed, and it's full of sugary goodness. Even after 3 or 4 minutes, the salt starts to do its job. It starts to draw out the moisture from those onions and they'll start to sweat down. But to get this to where we need it to be, we're talking at least another 30 minutes stirring regularly. Now, if I was in the restaurant at this point, I'd add a few sprigs of fresh thyme, but I don't have them, so I'm looking for an alternative from the store cupboard. I do have a little bit of dried thyme, and it will do almost the same job. A teaspoon of that goes in, and then a bit of patience required. I'll come back to this every 5 or 6 minutes and just give it a little stir until it's golden brown. So it does take some patience, but there you have your Lyonnaise onions. Beautiful, jammy, caramelised, and perfectly sweet. Yes, it's a lot of work, but the reward here is in the flavour. It is full of it. So all I do at this stage is to take it off the heat. We just want to bring these back to room temperature for our tart. Now, with the onions done, we can focus on our pastry. So very simply, we're going to roll this out Shop-bought puff pastry is something I always have in my fridge or freezer. It's great for using up leftovers. We're going to take a sheet of baking parchment and we're actually going to roll the pastry out onto it. That means when we cut it into our nice finished shape for the tart, we can just lift it straight onto our tray and into the oven.
Trim the pastry along the edges of the parchment paper so you get a perfect rectangle. Chill the pastry in the fridge for a few minutes and use a fork to poke some holes in the middle. This will ensure that the pastry will only puff up around the edges.
Done. So that is strangely satisfying. Our onions have now come back to room temperature, so they'll be nice and easy to spread. We want to have a lovely even layer. And the smell of these onions the minute you put them on is delicious. And we just want to cover all the holes. If we go too far outside of the little holes, it's going to stop the sides of our tart from puffing up with that puff pastry.
Now it's time to top with some store-cupboard staples. I have some green olives, which I just want to slice up, and a tin of anchovies.
And we're just going to line everything up. There is a reason for this. It just means that no matter where you take a slice of tart, you're going to get an even bite of your olives, your anchovies, your onions, and your pastry.
Now get the tart onto a preheated baking tray and into the oven at 200 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes until the sides have puffed up.
Look at this. So it only takes about 15 minutes in the oven. We can see that the puff pastries come up around the sides. It's nice and crispy underneath. And those caramelised onions have almost broken themselves down into the pastry. They're almost jammy on top. But it does need a little bit of greenery. And luckily, I have a little bit of chimichurri left over, which I've kept in the fridge. Will go beautifully on this. And some herb leaves. That sort of green sauce base, the olive oil, and lots of acid in there. So that's going to brighten up this tart. This one definitely needs a taste test. Oh, so that's the kind of dish that proves that you can make anything. Absolutely delicious with simple ingredients, cooked well. And it's not bad for leftovers either.
So there you have it, 3 beautiful dishes, all made using our core ingredients with a little help from our fully stocked pantry. We took minced beef and transformed it into a rich, flavour-packed Mongolian stir-fry in no time. Then we used the beef as the filling for crispy Argentinian empanadas, made with light, flaky puff pastry and finished with zingy chimichurri. And finally, we made the most of our pantry staples and fresh ingredients to create a beautifully caramelised tart pissaladière. This is what cooking like a chef is all about. It's about using what you have, making the most of your pantry to turn simple ingredients into something truly special. Now next week, I'll have a brand new set of core ingredients. We'll be back to the pantry to make 3 beautiful new dishes.